What's up, everybody? Just a few things. I don't really like doing solo ones. Y'all know me, I'd rather have a conversation between some buddies and shit. But we're all doing the quarantine thing, and I need to give you guys some content. But coming up, we do have a lot of shit lined up for when we do get back in the rhythm of things. One of them, the first big video we have coming up, is the ranking the Green Day albums. That's going to be a lot of fun. But right now I'm just going to churn out a bunch of little album reviews. Two of them I've been meaning to get to here recently, which is in this video here. Two Patreon requests. And I figured, okay, both of these albums are from the same guy, Andrew Morales. Am I saying your name right? Yeah, today we're going to talk about Stuck Mojo's first album, Snappin' Next. Yeah, Snappin' Next, yo. And the Morphine album, Cure for Pain, one that I've been meaning to get to for a long time now. Thanks for your patience. But first let me get Stuck Mojo out of the way. Stuck Mojo is one of those bands that I always heard of, I've always known about, but I never checked them out at all. And I probably did hear some of their songs before, but I just didn't notice, or maybe I didn't care. Back in the day, like we've mentioned before on here, our old local radio station, Rock 103, on Sunday nights. They used to do it every night at 10 back in the 90s, but toward the end of the 90s it would only be Sunday nights at 11 till about 4 in the morning. But they called it the Cutting Edge, and it was where they would play the more heavy metal stuff and the more up-and-coming stuff that they didn't play all day long, because most of the time, all day long, it's Skynyrd, it's fucking Seeger, it's motherfucking Zeppelin, Metallica, you know, that kind of shit. All day long. You know, grunge bands, you know, you're gonna hear, you know, Soundgarden all day, Audio Slave all day, Stone Temple Pilots all day, which I don't mind. I'll jam that shit out all the time. Even some bands that, like, nobody remembers except for, like, select few of us, like, you know, they'll play that one popular Jim Blossom song. But anyway, I always remember, the lady's name was Jessica Wilde, I believe, and I always remember her being like, coming up next is Stuck Mojo, blah blah blah. And I always remember thinking that was a cool name, but I never checked the fucking band out. So Andrew Morales requested Snappin' Next, and I went ahead and I bought it, and I dig it. I fucking enjoy it. This is like fucking right before, this is what it is, right fucking here. A cool ass tribal dude fucking squeezing Uncle Sam. Or no, he's got his head ripped off. He's got Uncle Sam's head ripped off. Or no, he's actually stretching it. So I guess he's snapping the neck. But this shit is kind of cool. This is at a time when nu metal was in its infancy and wasn't very much of a genre. And what was the earliest time you guys ever heard the term nu metal to describe this type of heavy metal? To me, the earliest time I knew of what nu metal was as a name was back in 2000, pretty late in the game, and it was when I had joined the BMG Music Club. And if you guys ever joined that fucking club, they would send you an album, or they would send you a featured album of the month and be like, if you don't want it, send it back. But you always had to choose your genre of the shit that they would send you, and I remember seeing the word nu metal and being like, whoa, that sounds like it's cool. But I remember every featured artist was like the bands I was not digging at the time, and I was like, why the fuck? I chose metal, but they keep sending me fucking goddamn, who the fuck were those dudes, man? Tantric, fucking, Element 80, motherfucking El Nino, and you know, just that kind of shit. I was like, why are y'all sending me this fucking shit, man? So anyway, that was the earliest I've ever been aware of nu metal as a term. But Snappin' Necks is a fun fucking album. Like, what year did this album fucking come out, man? I need to look this up real quick, y'all. Stuck Mojo. Stuck Mojo, Snappin' Necks, G. That is such a, wow, 95. 95, back when this shit was in its infancy. This, like, you know, rap metal, the biggest name in, like, rap metal at this point was easily Rage Against the Machine. You know, some bands did have rap and metal. Faith No More had some rap and metal, and you know, this was a time when that shit was really starting to be experimented with. Hell, Chili Peppers had rap in their little funk, and you know, maybe a little bit of a metal edge. I don't know. But this was another closest rap metal album at this time was that Mother's Day Out, which I highly recommend anyone checking that out because that's a damn good album. And this kind of reminds me of a mixture between Mother's Day Out and maybe some Rage Against the Machine and a bit of grunginess. The guitars are, hell, the guitars and the bass are very groovy. Which is something you kind of find in the early baby nu metal albums, where it was a little more groove based as opposed to just, you know, there's a lot of metal on here, but it's groovy metal, man. Like, it's fucking, you know, it's not like Limp Bizkit. It's not what the genre ultimately, or at least it's not what the mainstream ultimately started focusing on. And so it's not like Limp Bizkit, it's not like Linkin Park, it's not like the Butterfly Guys, Crazy Town. It's not like those guys. Now, like I've said before, I like the nu metal genre because there was so much. It was a catch-all for all these different experimental types of heavy metal. You know, because you had some shit that's more borderline industrial that gets called nu metal. You know, anyway. This is, it's a damn fun album. It's damn good. It's heavy. It's got a lot of fucking killer riffs. And you know what's even, you know, I'm not going to say this is crazy, but nu metal, man, that genre was about as white as the fucking picket fences in front of your most American bullshit ass White House. But this guy's a black dude. I don't know if you can see him, which, I mean, it's kind of cool, you know? But apparently I read that he was getting a lot of hate for being a black dude in metal. Now, is that true? I read that and was like, really now? You know, so did Living Colour get a lot of shit? You know, what the fuck? Who cares what the fuck, you know, what color you are, what fucking kind of music you want to make? But yeah, nu metal was, especially the rap metal guys, were mostly a bunch of pissed off white kids. So it's kind of cool to see, you know, a black dude fucking doing his thing in a heavy metal band. You know, you don't see that a lot. You don't really see a lot of black dudes in heavy metal bands, which I think is kind of cool. But I can't hardly read this track listing. Black on Black is fucking horrible. Really now? But yeah, Not Promised Tomorrow opens the album pretty decently. Snappin' Necks is cool. I like FOD. 2 Minutes to Death is badass, and it's only like a minute and a half long, but it does a lot in that minute and a half. God, I cannot read this shit, man. Who's the Devil's cool. I really like the bass intro to Change My Ways. That's pretty rad. Monkeys Behind the Wheel is pretty rad. You know, the whole album is pretty damn good as a whole. I mean, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of filler, but I do find myself coming in and out because some of the songs are fairly long at 5 minutes and, you know, don't change up all that much. So, you know, I'm moving in and out, kind of get that bleeding effect. But that doesn't really hurt the album. You know, it's a damn good one to drive to. It's a damn good one to, you know, clean your house to. I'm not turning it on and chilling, you know. It's not one of those albums for me. But if I'm driving around somewhere and I want something killer in the car that nobody in town has on, you turn your windows down and you yourself is thinking, yeah, man, these people think I'm crazy. But they're not paying attention to what you're listening to. If anything, if they can hear it, they're thinking you're an asshole. But yeah, it's, you know, it's interesting hearing when this genre started out and then seeing what it ultimately became. Because, you know, I don't see this being as hated as shit like Chocolate Starfish or Results May Vary, you know. This was before that distaste really happened. You know, I call it new metal before new metal. You know, at this point in '95, what we had Korn, we had Deftones, and that's really all I could think of. You know, and you know, Rage Against the Machine. It was still a very, very small group of people. You know, I'd say the bigger boom hit maybe closer to '97. A lot more bands got a little more exposure in the '97 of things. And I mean, probably one of the coolest things that came out of this early '90s experimentation between hip hop and heavy metal is that Judgment Night soundtrack, where they just took hip hop artists and heavy metal artists and made them collab. And that's a damn good soundtrack. That shit's fucking awesome, man. Yeah, it's cool hearing the beginnings of this genre when it's a new genre. Before it was even a genre, when it was just straight up doing something different. And I really like that about most genres. You know, like I'm a big fan of genre labels. And shit like that. I know most bands are like, I don't want to be, you know, stuck to a fucking label. But it's like, well, don't, you know? I mean, I do like to be like, oh man, that's fucking classical steampunk prog metal, man. You know, it's funny, it's fun. But so like with industrial music, you know, I'm a big fan of the early beginnings of that stuff when it sounded real primitive and grimy and dark, and you know, some of that griminess gets lost along the way, you know, toward the mid '90s and to now. You know, industrial music is pretty clean now, but I think some of the best industrial shit that I'm hearing now is like Author and Punisher. That really reminds me of the early kind of industrial stuff, and even the first Three Teeth album has a very early '90s, maybe late '80s industrial feel to it. But yeah, I like, you know, hearing the, you know, how far back does this shit go? I really like that, to experience that. But yeah, I give the Stuck Mojo album, I definitely give it maybe a 7, because it's nothing I'm really going to be like, dude, I gotta listen to the Stuck Mojo album today, man. But it's worth checking out, especially if you want to hear the early beginnings of a genre that eventually wound up becoming so hated and is still a punchline today. But, you know, thing is, like we said in our new metal podcast last year, there's a lot of new metal that I love that, you know, there was a lot of good shit happening before the mainstream, you know, before MTV got a hold of it. So, but the next album I'm going to be talking about right now is Morphine, Cure for Pain. This is phenomenal. I had never heard of this band before, it was requested. And I looked him up and I was like, whoa, saxophone guy, drum guy, and dude named Sandman with this odd sort of, I guess, a 2-string bass thing that he had made. But man, does this album have a unique motherfucking style, a sound to it that I've never heard anywhere. I mean, yeah, you know, groovy drums, groovy saxophone, groovy bass line, but there's just a sound to it, a production sound. Sandman's vocals are really good. I like the deep crooniness to it. But man, the real fucking just groovy sax and the drums on that weird bass thing that he's got, really fucking cool sound. And I have also since bought a couple more of their albums. I got their album Yes, and what is that? Like Swimming in the Night. And yeah, they're all pretty fucking good. I mean, their sound doesn't much change all that much, but it's a sound I don't mind being the same. But yeah, man, this is some wild shit. I can't believe I never heard of these guys. Sadly, Sandman is a guy, he passed away on stage, but the rest of the band brought it back together. They call it something like Vapors of Morphine. And that's something that, you know, I don't mind it when, let's say, the singer dies. A lot of people say when they get a new singer, whether they're fired or they die, a lot of people say, oh, change the name, change the name. You know, I am not one of those guys. I get it, you know, but I do like the, you know, the Vapors of Morphine tag. You know, they just didn't keep it called Morphine. You know, they just added it, added something to it. You know, sometimes you get bullshit where it's Sublime with Rome, or Queen with Paul Rogers, and it's like, nah, you might as well just change the name at that point. You know, I don't mind Stone Temple Pilots still being Stone Temple Pilots without Scott Weiland, but none of it without Scott Weiland is all that interesting. They can do what they want. Like here recently, we were making a lot of jokes here recently, Children of Bodom, straight up, the entire band, like, just quit, and, I forget the main dude's name, and basically, like, stole the rights, to the name, Children of Bodom, and so technically he can't do another band called Children of Bodom because those guys all own the rights. And so I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if he, you know, he could still do it. Make the same style of music and just call it something like Baby Bodom or, you know, Bodom's Children. Some bullshit like that. I'd be cool with that. It would be silly as fuck, but I'd be down with it. Just like with Vapors of Morphine. That's kind of fucking cool. Because it feels more like a tribute as opposed to just, you know, we're just going to still be Morphine. I mean, thing is it would be harder to continue Morphine without Sandman because of his voice and that bass fucking thingy that he plays. But man, like, I don't know what it is, but this shit with the saxophone and the drums, I get these sort of John Zorn vibes. This sounds like a band that John Zorn would probably fuck around with, but you know, at this time John Zorn's doing Naked City, and you know, that's a whole different thing. But man, this is some groovy shit. Like, the whole album is really good, but you know, it also does feel a little long. But every time I listen to it, I'm like really into it. I'm like, damn man, this shit is badass. I'm getting into the groove and all that. And then I'll turn it off, and you know, a couple months go by, and I'm like, damn man, that album is just kind of long, and I kind of bleed in and out, you know, and kind of find my mind wandering and not paying too much attention. But then I'll turn it back on, and I'll be like all fucking in it, and being like, oh well, I'm fucking digging this album. Why am I thinking that? There's some real staying power, memorably, you know, with the sound of the sax and the bass thing and the drums, and it's really cool. But I do, for some reason, when I'm done listening to it, I'm like, God, that thing is long. But that goddamn, the first track is like this whole 40-second thing, but when you get into Buena, holy fuck, that shit's bad as fuck, man. And then I'm Free Now. Fuck, I'm Free Now is great. All Wrong is good. Candy, Head with Wings. Now I really dig the middle placement of the track In Spite of Me, because that's a good change of pace. Because at that point, all the songs sounded the same. They're all using, you know, those same instruments, you know. But when you get to In Spite of Me, there's like a mandolin going on, and it sounds nothing like the rest of the album, and I appreciate that. I'm like, thanks for giving me a change of pace halfway through. Which is, it's a real beautiful song, too. Then Thursday Comes, Cure for Pain, and man, Mary, Won't You Call My Name, bad as fuck, Let's Take a Trip Together. And Sheila, bad as fuck. Then you get this weird little bit at the end of the album, Miles Davis's Funeral. And that's pretty cool, too. It's a little weird, you know, and I dig it. But fucking A, man. Morphine. Great motherfucking album. Great motherfucking album. Highly recommend this. And this one, I'm going to give a good 9. We can throw it 10, but like I said, I'm in it when I'm listening, but then when I'm not listening, my memory changes to, I don't know, it's a 9. Because, I mean, it does start to bleed in together. You know, you kind of get used to the uniqueness of the album. And there are not many surprises, but damn it, if not, what they're doing on here is fantastic. It's great. But yeah, definitely a 9. Definitely a 9. And I'll be back in a moment with a couple more album reviews, man. Y'all take it easy.